I never believed in haunted houses until I rented the one on Coldwater Lane. And even now, as I sit writing this from a motel 2 states away, I can still hear the sound it made every night at exactly 2:17 a.m. The sound that wasn't footsteps and wasn't breathing, but somehow felt like both, moving just outside the bedroom door as if the house itself was learning how to walk. My name is Ethan Walker, and in the winter of 2019, after my divorce finalized and my life collapsed into silence, I moved to a small town in northern Michigan for work, where snow buried the roads for months and people avoided eye contact like they were all keeping the same secret. The house was cheap, too cheap, but I didn't care. It was isolated, old and quiet, with a long gravel driveway and tall dead trees pressed close like they were trying to listen. The landlord, a woman named Margaret Hales, never met me in person, only left the keys in a lockbox and warned me in a single text: "Don't use the basement door after dark." I laughed at that. Nervous humor, the kind you use when something feels wrong, but you don't want to admit it. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, the house settled in ways that felt deliberate. Pipes knocking in rhythmic patterns, floorboards creaking one after another, never randomly. On the third night, I woke up to the sound at 2:17, a wet dragging noise moving slowly down the hallway, stopping just outside my room. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. Every instinct screamed that if I acknowledged it, something would acknowledge me back. The sound eventually retreated, but the smell it left behind, cold earth and old water, lingered until morning. Days passed, and the town began to feel wrong too. People recognized me before I introduced myself. The cashier at the grocery store asked if the house was treating me gently. My neighbor, an old man named Robert Klein, stood at the edge of my property one evening and said, "It doesn't like renters," before walking away into the snow. I started sleeping with lights on, then stopped sleeping altogether. The sounds grew louder, closer, more confident. Doors I locked would be open in the morning. Furniture shifted by inches, always toward the hallway leading to the basement. I found handprints on the walls, adult-sized, child-sized, overlapping, pressed into the paint from the inside, as if someone had been trapped within the walls and pushed outward. One night, I broke and opened the bedroom door at 2:17. The hallway was empty, but the carpet was damp, and leading toward the basement stairs were footprints that ended abruptly, like whatever made them had sunk straight down through the floor. That was the night I dreamed of the house while awake, standing in my kitchen and watching the walls pulse gently, breathing, learning my shape. The basement door began to scratch from the other side after sunset, slow, deliberate scrapes that spelled something I didn't want to understand. When I finally opened it, because the house was already opening me, the stairs stretched downward far longer than they should have, lined with doors on both sides, each one whispering my name in different voices. I saw reflections of myself in the darkness, versions that hadn't escaped, that hadn't resisted. At the bottom, I found a room full of furniture, IDs, phones, and shoes, all neatly arranged, and in the center a wall covered in names scratched deep into the concrete, hundreds of them, with dates spanning decades. My name was already there, freshly carved. When the door slammed shut behind me, the house spoke for the first time, not with sound but with certainty. "You live here now." I don't remember how I got out. I don't remember running through the snow barefoot, or smashing my car window because the doors wouldn't unlock, or waking up at a hospital with frostbite and a police officer telling me the house on Coldwater Lane had been empty since 1998 after a family vanished without a trace. What I do remember is this. Every night at 2:17 a.m., no matter where I am, I feel the floor beneath me tighten like fingers curling, and for a moment, just a moment, I'm certain the house is still looking for me, patient, learning new ways to follow. I used to drive long distances at night for work, and I thought I understood loneliness, darkness, and fear, but nothing prepared me for what happened on Route 47 during the winter of 2020, a stretch of road in rural Pennsylvania that locals avoided after sunset, and that I only took because my GPS insisted it was faster. My name is Daniel Harper, and I was hauling audio equipment between small towns often driving until my eyes burned and my thoughts blurred together, which is why at first I didn't question the feeling that the road was subtly changing the longer I stayed on it. The trees growing closer, the snow heavier, the radio crackling with voices that didn't belong to any station. It was just past midnight when my phone lost signal completely, the GPS freezing as the screen displayed a single message: continue straight. The road narrowed into one lane, bordered by dead forest on both sides. The branches bent inward like ribs, and the silence became so complete I could hear my own breathing echoing inside the car. That was when I saw the first figure standing on the shoulder ahead, tall, unmoving, dressed in dark winter clothes, with its back to me. I slowed instinctively, my headlights washing over it. But as I got closer, I realized something was wrong. It didn't cast a shadow, and its feet weren't touching the ground. The moment I passed it, my rearview mirror filled with movement, dozens of figures now lining the road behind me, all facing the same direction, all standing perfectly still, watching me leave. My heart hammered as I sped up, convincing myself exhaustion was playing tricks on me, until the radio clicked on by itself and a calm, unfamiliar voice spoke my name, slowly, carefully, as if tasting it. "Daniel, you missed your turn." I slammed the radio off, my hands shaking, only to realize the road ahead was looping, literally bending back on itself, bringing me toward the same broken mile marker I'd passed 10 minutes earlier. No matter how fast I drove, Route 47 refused to end, and with every loop the forest grew closer and the figures along the road multiplied, some standing, some kneeling, some hanging unnaturally from the trees, their faces always hidden, their bodies angled toward me in anticipation. Panic set in when my headlights began to dim and frost spread across the inside of the windshield, forming shapes that looked disturbingly like fingerprints. I tried calling 911, my wife, Emily, anyone, but every call connected to the same voice, the same calm tone, telling me to pull over, telling me it was tired of chasing, telling me the road needed a new walker. When my engine finally stalled, the silence rushed in like water, thick and suffocating, broken only by footsteps crunching in snow around my car from every direction. I locked the doors and screamed when hands pressed against the windows from the darkness, leaving fog prints that didn't fade. Faces emerged then, pale, frozen, eyes open too wide. People dressed from different decades, all wearing the same empty expression, all mouthing the same word in perfect unison: stay. The passenger door handle rattled violently, and in that moment I realized the truth with horrifying clarity. Route 47 didn't lead anywhere. It consumed people, wearing their voices, memorizing their names, using their fear to call the next traveler. I broke the window with my elbow and ran, abandoning the car, the gear, everything, sprinting blindly into the trees as the road screamed behind me, the sound tearing through the forest like a living thing in pain. The woods were worse, endless, disorienting, filled with whispers that mimicked my wife's voice, my own voice, begging me to turn back, but I didn't stop until I collapsed at dawn on the edge of farm, half frozen and bleeding. The police later found my car, still idling on Route 47, doors open, radio on low, playing my recorded voice on a loop, calmly asking for help. They told me no one else had reported that road in years, that officially it didn't exist anymore, erased from maps after a series of unexplained disappearances. I moved away after that, stopped driving at night entirely. But sometimes when the world is quiet and snow presses against the windows, my phone lights up with a single notification from an unknown number displaying just 3 words: continue straight, Daniel. I never planned on stopping in Gravesend, Iowa, and to this day, I don't know why I did, except that exhaustion has a way of lowering your guard and making bad decisions feel reasonable. And by the time I saw the town's welcome sign, rusted, crooked, and partially buried in snow, it was already too late to turn back. My name is Lucas Reed, and in the fall of 2021, I was driving cross-country after quitting my job and cutting ties with almost everyone I knew, chasing the kind of silence you only find on empty highways at night, the kind that lets you forget who you used to be. Gravesend didn't appear on my map, not on my phone or my old paper atlas, but the road curved naturally into it, streetlights flickering on one by one as if responding to my arrival. The town was small, maybe a dozen buildings clustered around a square, all of them too well maintained for a place that felt so completely abandoned. Every storefront was lit, every window clean, but there were no cars, no movement, no sound, not even wind. I parked near a diner with a neon sign that buzzed softly, stepped out into the cold, and immediately felt the sensation that something had shifted behind me. The road I'd come from stretching unnaturally long and dark, like it was reluctant to let me leave. Inside the diner, the smell of coffee was fresh, the counter spotless, and behind it stood a middle-aged woman with a polite smile who greeted me by name before I could speak. That alone should have sent me running, but exhaustion numbed the fear, and when I asked how she knew me, she laughed gently and said, "You've always passed through eventually." Other patrons sat in the booths, quietly eating, all of them glancing up at me in perfect unison, their expressions unreadable, their eyes lingering just a second too long. The menu had no prices, only dates, all of them from different years, and when I ordered coffee, the woman poured it without asking how I liked it, exactly the way I preferred. As I drank, I noticed something wrong with the mirrors behind the counter. My reflection lagged slightly behind my movements, smiling when I wasn't, its eyes darker, deeper, like windows into a room with no light. I stayed the night at the only motel in town, the Gravesend Inn, because the idea of driving back onto that road filled me with a dread I couldn't explain, the kind that settles into your bones and tells you not to test it. The room was prepared as if someone had known I was coming. My name written neatly on a welcome card, my childhood home address printed on the key sleeve, details no stranger should have known. I barely slept. The walls whispered softly all night, not words exactly, but memories. Arguments I'd had, mistakes I'd buried, names I hadn't spoken in years, played back in fragments like a confession I never gave. At exactly 3:03 a.m., there was a knock at the door, slow and deliberate. When I looked through the peephole, I saw myself standing in the hallway, wearing the same clothes, my face calm, my eyes empty. I staggered back as the knocking continued, growing louder, more impatient, until the door handle began to turn on its own. I screamed, and the knocking stopped instantly, replaced by silence, so deep my ears rang. Morning in Gravesend looked identical to night, the same dim light, the same stillness, the same people in the diner eating the same meals, repeating the same conversations word for word. I realized then that time didn't move forward here. It looped, trapping moments, trapping people. The townsfolk began to speak to me openly after that, no longer pretending normalcy, telling me how Gravesend collected those who were unfinished, those running from something unresolved, feeding on regret and familiarity. They showed me the old records in the town hall, shelves filled with photographs of visitors stretching back over a century, all of them smiling stiffly, all of them labeled resident. I found my own photo among them, dated 1964, then another from 1989, then one from 2007, each version of me slightly different, slightly more hollow. Panic clawed at my chest as I understood the truth. I'd been here before, many times, and every time I thought I'd escaped, the town had simply waited patiently for me to forget and wander back. I tried to flee that night, running toward the edge of town as the buildings groaned and shifted, streets stretching and folding back on themselves like veins, the townspeople watching silently from doorways as if observing a ritual they'd seen countless times. The road dissolved into dirt beneath my feet, then into nothing at all, dropping away into a dark, endless field filled with whispers calling my name, guiding me back. When I collapsed in the square, sobbing and broken, the diner woman knelt beside me and spoke softly, almost kindly, telling me it was easier to stay, that fighting only made the remembering hurt more. She touched my forehead and memories flooded in. Every previous visit, every failed escape, every version of myself that had eventually accepted Gravesend as home. I woke up this morning behind the diner counter, coffee already brewing, my reflection smiling correctly now, no longer lagging behind. I know what to say to travelers when they arrive. I know their names. And sometimes when the road bends just right and a familiar car pulls into town, I feel a strange ache of recognition, as if I'm finally welcoming myself back where I belong.